You know that feeling, right? When you just hit a wall in the middle of the afternoon. We've all been there. But what if that constant, draining daytime sleepiness isn't just because you had a bad night's sleep? What if the real story is, well, written in your blood? We're going to dive into a massive new study that's uncovered some really fascinating chemical clues that are literally part of our biology.
And this is not a small problem. I mean, look at this number. The research we're talking about today shows that excessive daytime sleepiness, or EDS, affects about a third of the US population. That is millions and millions of people who are struggling just to stay alert and focused during the day. It's way more than just feeling a little groggy. It's a huge public health issue. For as long as we can remember, the advice has been pretty simple. If you feel tired, just sleep more. But you know what? A lot of people do that, and that feeling of sleepiness just sticks around. So this study starts asking a much deeper question. Are there some biological processes, things happening inside our bodies on a chemical level that are actually controlling the dial on our sleepiness? To get to the bottom of that, scientists basically went on a hunt for biological clues. They decided to look deep inside our blood, searching for these teeny tiny molecules that could tell a story about why some of us feel so drowsy while others are just buzzing with energy. It's kind of like a metabolic detective story. And the main suspects in this whole investigation, they're called metabolites. The easiest way to think of them is like little chemical footprints. They get left behind after every single thing your body does. They can show what you've eaten, how your hormones are behaving, how you're making energy. It's like a perfect snapshot of what your body is doing in real time. And let me tell you, this was a massive project. The researchers got blood samples from over 6,000 people. Then they scanned every single one of those samples for almost 900 different metabolites. And then came the really critical part. They compared the levels of all those chemical footprints to how sleepy each person said they felt. They were just looking for patterns. And boy, did patterns emerge. The results pointed to two major areas that are really deeply connected to how sleepy we feel during the day: our hormones and our diet. So let's break down exactly what they found. So the first big aha moment they had was a connection to steroid hormones. These are super powerful chemical messengers in our body that control a huge range of things, from how we handle stress to inflammation. Now, two of these compounds really stood out. I know the names are a mouthful, but stick with me. The first, pregnenolone sulfate, is in the same family as progesterone. And the second is a byproduct of cortisol, which pretty much all of us know as the body's main stress hormone. So these aren't just some random chemicals. They are major players in how our bodies work. Okay, so it wasn't just about the hormones our bodies are busy making. The second big set of clues came from things that are directly linked to what we eat. This shows a really clear line between our nutrition and our energy levels. The dietary footprints they spotted included things like long-chain fatty acids. That's the kind of stuff you get from nuts, olive oil, and fish. And they also found a type of fat called sphingomyelin. Now, this one is fascinating because it's not only part of our cells, but it's also involved in making those exact same steroid hormones we were just talking about. It's a perfect little loop showing how our diet and hormones are totally intertwined. All right, so here is the biggest surprise of the whole study. You'd probably think that having more of these things floating around would be a problem, right? But the researchers found the exact opposite. Higher levels of these specific hormones and these dietary fats were consistently linked with less daytime sleepiness. It almost suggests they have some kind of protective effect, helping to keep us more awake and alert. But of course, biology is never that simple. The story gets even more complex. When the researchers decided to split the data up by sex, they found that these biological pathways, well, they don't seem to work the exact same way for everybody. So when they looked only at the women in the study, those connections between the hormones, the fats, and sleepiness, they just weren't as strong. The link was kinda there, but it wasn't what scientists call statistically significant. It suggests there are probably other things going on, like the complex hormonal shifts during the menstrual cycle. But in men, it was a different story. Not only did the original findings hold strong, but a totally new and unique connection popped up. And this one was linked to more sleepiness. This metabolite is called tyramine O sulfate, and unlike all the others, for men, having higher levels of this stuff was linked to feeling more tired during the day. So where does it come from? It's found in a lot of fermented and aged foods. Think about a charcuterie board, aged cheeses, cured meats like salami, and even some wines. So after all that pretty complex science, what's the actual takeaway here? Why does any of this matter to you and me? Let's zoom out and just look at the big picture for a second. Let's just boil this all down. 3 key things to remember. First, there's a real, measurable, biological link between our internal chemistry and how sleepy we feel. Second, it looks like some compounds, especially certain steroids and healthy fats, might actually be protecting us from feeling so drowsy. And third, and this is a big one, these systems are not one size fits all. Our biology can work differently between men and women. And this is exactly why this research is so important. I mean, as the authors themselves said, this isn't just about finding some interesting connections. When you identify these specific chemical pathways, you're giving science a roadmap. It opens up the door to really understanding the root causes of sleepiness. And maybe, one day, it could lead to much better, more personal ways to predict it and to treat it. So this research really leaves us with a provocative thought. Of course, getting a good night's sleep is always going to be crucial. But this study suggests that our daily energy is also being shaped by this really complex conversation happening between our hormones and our food. It kind of makes you wonder, for that afternoon slump, could the real answer be found not just in the bedroom, but maybe in the kitchen?